out to my two Uber comrades on Patreon supporting my work there, my partner and Independent Left News. So, fortunately, but not surprisingly, the Supreme Court overturned the eviction moratorium that the Biden administration had put into place. I believe it was through September, I think, and this was obviously the 6 conservative justices voted this down, while the 3 liberal justices voted to keep it in place. And obviously, if the Congress and the Senate don't do anything on this is going to have some hugely disastrous consequences for people in the U.S. Obviously, potentially millions, potentially tens of millions even, of people could be kicked out of their homes as a result of this ruling. And just really goes to show how completely unaccountable and disconnected from the reality that most people are facing in the United States right now that the Supreme Court is, and really they're, especially the 6 conservative justices, really just completely beholden to corporate interests, in this case, the real estate industry. So this is from Common Dreams. Millions of people across the U.S. are once again at imminent risk of losing their homes after the conservative-dominated Supreme Court on Thursday struck down the Biden admin's eviction moratorium, siding with a coalition of landlords and real estate companies that challenged the critical lifeline. And again, this was the eviction moratorium was just a stopgap measure because, unless it just keeps going in perpetuity forever and forever with more moratoriums being implemented and extended, this was all going to come to a head at some point, unless, rent and mortgage payments were canceled. And there hasn't, frankly, been a whole lot of talk by anybody in Congress about that, right? So, and this is Breyer writing for the liberal, minority opinion. Without a full briefing and argument, the moratorium on evictions for non-payment rent was originally intended to run through October 3rd. So again, that's, just wasn't even that long, just a little bit over, a month from now, basically. Public interest strongly favors respecting the CDC's judgment at this moment, when over 90% of counties are experiencing high coronavirus transmission rates. Breyer wrote, noting that the real estate coalition's earlier argument against the eviction moratorium that COVID-19 infections were trending down no longer holds. And then look at this. Vast majority of the funding that's supposed to be going to people to help with the rental assistance to keep them in, their homes or apartments hasn't been released. 89% rental assistance funds approved by Congress have not been distributed, a problem that some critics have attributed to the faulty design of the federal program. From my understanding, I think there's just basically a lot of hoops you have to go through in order to get access to this funding, and it clearly, not the easiest system if 89% of the funds have not been released. Housing experts and advocates estimate that total rental debt in the U.S. currently amounts to around $21.3 billion, with households that are behind on rent owing $3,300 on average. Congress has approved $46.5 billion emergency rental assistance. So, just think about this. $21.3 billion, I believe that was pretty close to the amount that they increased the military's budget to. So they have approved, double the amount of money to pay for this, but because the program was so shittily designed, it's hard to access and actually get. Vast majority of we've seen hasn't actually got to the people who need it the most. Cory Bush, Congress must act immediately to prevent mass evictions. That's why I feel like some people thought the, celebrations that, Bush and AOC had after, the Biden camp, or the CDC, I should say, extended this once more, was a little bit, premature, because we see, what happened now. The Supreme Court, very easily just overturned this. So we're back kind of at square one. So what is Congress going to do? Are they actually going to do anything? Because again, they waited to the last minute, as the last eviction moratorium was about to expire, to do anything. So we'll see. And again, that recent eviction moratorium only covered 90% of the country. That still left, probably at least 1 million or more people without these protections. So she's urging everybody, in Congress to support a legislative solution to this eviction crisis. Okay, so they're saying, Jayapal Bush saying this is cruel and wrong. Oh, excuse me. Oh, Jesus. Excuse me. Oh, damn, that was a loud one. Then some states, they're allowing, fast-tracked evictions. Eviction risks lives and drives families deeper into poverty. Not to mention it's during a fucking pandemic. I mean, Jesus Christ. Congress, currently in recess, intend to take on response to Supreme Court's ruling. In a statement, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the Biden admin was disappointed by the decision, urged all entities that can prevent evictions. Mark Pocan, Congress should immediately come back into session, extend the moratorium. Supreme Court blocking the eviction moratorium while the pandemic is killing 1,000 people a day is appalling. And again, needs to be pointed out, just how much this is a problem of, capitalism. We have, is it 17 million homes that aren't being used right now, and we have 500 plus thousand homeless people, but because it's more profitable under capitalism to keep people homeless than it is to give them homes, we're in this situation that we're in. And then you also have these contradictions that are in place. One in this case that obviously this is very, very hugely disastrous and detrimental for the people who, if nothing is done, to further this eviction moratorium, will be, homeless, kicked out of their homes, kicked out of their apartments, out on the streets during a pandemic. While on the other hand, you have, these real estate speculators and investors who are poised to, reap the rewards of people suffering. So you have that kind of dialectic and that contradiction taking place. And again, the eviction moratorium was never going to solve any of these issues, because unless it kept getting extended in perpetuity, there was going to come a point in time where people are going to owe, thousands of dollars in back rent or, mortgages. And, most people don't have, thousands of dollars of disposable income to, be able to get out of that financial hole that they're in. So obviously really hope that Congress does do something. If not, the level of suffering is just going to be monumental, and we really need to be engaging in mutual aid and helping out our neighbors and people as much as we can, because it's clear that the state doesn't have the best interest of the working class in mind right now, if it ever has, frankly. Like the video if you like the damn video, subscribe for more content. Peace, much love.